Okay, let's try this again because it kicked me out a little bit earlier. Okay, so I've reset the router. Hopefully, I've got a good connection now. It looks like everything is good to go again. All right, so I'm glad we're back. So what I was talking about earlier was this fuel pressure regulator, and then this one's actually a deadhead style regulator that I had to kind of convert for it to be a bypass style regulator. And what I did was, because this thing has a inlet on the bottom, and then one side is supposed to go to each side of the carburetor, what I ended up doing was I took one side and I fed it into a single fuel rail, and then the other side I fed it back into the tank. And then in the tank side, I installed this kind of like this valve, and that's how I was able to regulate fuel back into the tank. So the regulator that I'm looking at trying to get, I'm probably going to go with the entire fuel system from Aeromotive, just because I would like it to match. And what I'm looking at a couple different styles. I do want a return style regulator, and that's for a couple of reasons. Return style regulator will allow fuel to run cooler throughout the entire system, and it'll take the heat from all the lines and everything, and it'll take it back to the tank. Overall, the fuel in the tank will get warmer, but because it's so far away from the engine, it'll cool back down. And my tank's already plastic, so I don't really have anything, any kind of heat radiating into the tank. It's just whatever heat's in there is in there, and I don't really have to worry about it. The second reason is because I'm going to be mixing E85 for my carb, and because carburetors can't auto-regulate, I'm going to be running a content analyzer on the return side, but that'll only tell me what kind of fuel is in there. And if I only know what kind of fuel is in there, I won't be able to control it. So the only way I can control it is by mixing my own fuel. So I'm going to run whatever E85 is coming out of the pump. And then if it's like, if I'm getting E50 out of it and I'm getting E50 consistently, but then one time I'll get E70 or E85 completely, then I'll take clean fuel like 91 and I'll mix it in with the E85, and that'll bring the whole rating down. And with the return style system, what that'll do is while it's running, it'll constantly be mixing the fuel. So it'll go through the entire system, go back up to the engine bay, go through the regulator, go back down the return, and then it'll spill back into the fuel tank. And when it goes into the fuel tank, it'll just mix with whatever's in there. So as long as I have the key on, it'll just keep mixing the fuel over and over and over again until the entire blend is very consistent. So let's see if I can go, let's go high to low, just because I want to avoid all the service kits. So this is the one that they told me to buy originally. This is a dual style regulator. So it's actually two regulators in one. Let me see if, okay. So this is two regulators. This it's a dual stage. So what this does is it allows it, whatever pump pressure you have, let's say it's a 40, 50, 60 psi pump, it'll actually go from the tank into this one side of this regulator. Then this regulator will feed into the second regulator. So the first regulator will dumb it down to, say, whatever. It'll dumb it down to like 8 psi, 10 psi. And then the second regulator will dumb it down again into, say, 6 psi. So you can run really high pressure, high volume pumps and then dumb them down enough to run whatever you want. The issue is I don't think this one is specifically designed for E85. And right here, it says for vehicles equipped with OEM fuel-injected engines, where the conversion to carburetor is desired. So you can use the OEM 45 psi pump and then dumb it down to carburetor pressures. But because it only uses -6 lines, 3/8 MPT is -6. That is not enough for E85. So I go back into the selection over here. If we go, let's see. So that is the dual pass. Here's another one, but it's not boost referenced. And this is a marine one, which I'm not going to use. This is the deadhead one that I already have, and this one's an actual kit, but I can't use this one either. This one, let's see. I don't think I can use this one either. This one also is not boost reference. So this one is boost reference. So let's go ahead and click this one. This one's a 2-port. So this one has one on the bottom and then one on the side. So this one's 1/8 MPT gauge. This one is, let's see, what is the supply? ORB-10. So that's O-ring Boss. This one's the same as AN-10. And then if we go, let's see, that's for the return. I'm assuming it's a -10 for the supply as well. It looks pretty beefy. Well, the return's really big. It might be a -10 for the supply as well. Let's see. One adjustment for idle, one for wide open throttle, engineer variable, one tight tension RPM, regulator. Let's see. I don't know if this is boost referenced. So it says for wide open throttle, but I don't know if this will increase for boost. I think this will just increase for wide open throttle. So this one's 4 holes. I don't need that. This one's an A2000. This one looks similar to the double adjustable return style. This one's 2-port return style. So let's check this one out. Let's see. 2 to 20 psi return style. AN-10 return line. Fuel rises 1 to 1 when referencing boost. Okay, so this one's a boost reference fuel pressure regulator. This one will work for a turbo application where you're running the carburetor. So it's not legal for use on emission control. So the only thing I need to know is if this is compatible with E85, which I assume it is. It should say if it's not. So it says ORB-10 outlet, and then dynamic fuel delivery, AN-10. I don't know why they would have an ORB on one side and an AN on the other side. Doesn't really make sense to me. Doesn't really give me a horsepower rating, but because of the size of the fittings, I'm pretty sure this will probably get me to my it won't cause restriction because of just how big the fittings are. These are instructions. I'm not going to go through the instructions. So let's talk about what do we need to talk about here. I read a comment. I just gotta write a comment real quick because I was online earlier and I just my signal was really bad and I had to just shut everything down, turn everything back on, and hopefully I don't have any kind of issues until the end of the stream. So we should be okay on that one. So let's see. Let's talk about what are we talking about? We already kind of talked about the power valves. So they seem to be pretty cheap on eBay. Let's see, who sells this? Who is the seller of this? Back in the day, 1970, I don't know. I'd probably just buy this kind of stuff directly from like Holley or Summer Racing or Jegs. The problem with like Chinese style of like fuel pressure regulators and power valves and jets is that they're not really built with like the best material. So especially if you want to run something like E85, maybe they're using materials that aren't designed for E85 and it'll destroy it. Maybe the springs aren't really designed for what you need it to. Maybe, you know, whatever, the jets aren't drilled properly. So I try to stay away from Chinese stuff for the internals of a carburetor. You can get like replica fuel bowls; those will probably be fine. You can get the squirter nozzles; those will probably be fine to run the Chinese stuff. A lot of stuff. You could run a lot of stuff, but I wouldn't run this one specifically. Let's see, where am I right now? How do I even close this? I have so many. Let's see, let's go ahead and close this one because I don't need it. Okay. So I already talked about the fact that I was going to go annular boosters on the carburetor if I decide to go 750 main body. If I'm going with the 750 main body, then that will affect the jet flow a little bit, but I'll probably have to jet up. Well, and what I've noticed in gasoline carburetors is that when I go up in main body size and everything else stays the same, I usually have to jet up 1 or 2 sizes at most. I usually don't have to go much more than that. For example, I have a 750 right now and it's running a 70 jet. And then before that, I was running a 650, 620. No, that's not a fair comparison because it's a demon. So the 600 Holly was running, I believe, 66 or 67. So from the 600 to the 750, although nothing else changed except for the carburetor, the 750 wanted a 70 jet and the 600 wanted like a 67 jet or 68 jet. So just something to keep in mind. So whatever I jet it to on a 650, if I upgrade the main body, it's not going to be the same 650. So let's see what else we got here. The squirter nozzles, so it's a dual, it's not a dual, it is a double pumper. So that means it has a front nozzle and a back nozzle. Right now for gasoline, I have the black 50cc in the front. It's a black cam with a 40 squirter in the front. I'm probably going to do the same thing and run a 40 in the back. But then after that, I might have to size up even bigger than 40, probably like 42 or a 45. I actually got I don't know. I mean, you figure 30% for E85. So 30% of, let's see, a third of 30 would be 10. So if you add 10 to 40, it would be 50. So maybe a size 50, maybe a size 55. I have no idea. I have to actually research where like the baseline is so I can get the right amount of fuel in there. Because that's really important when you're snapping the throttle. You don't want to run lean. You don't want to pop anything going through the carburetor. It'll just cause a bunch of problems. And you want to run anything except for lean on a carburetor. So that's just kind of the way it is. The everything else is the same. I already talked about the fuel. Aren't going to change. They already have nitro filled floats, so that's going to be the same. I am running, I already talked about that. I'm going to be running like either a 130 or a 140 or a 150 needle and seat. So that's not going to change much. The might go annular boosters if I go 750. So that's something, but I'll probably buy the main bodies. Oh man, you misspelled his name. What's up, man? What's up, Trader? I'm just gonna call you Trader now. You're a good dude, but you're a traitor. Yeah. But it's always good to see you, buddy. Oh. Let's see. So let's see. Let me see if I can find a good 750 main body. All right. So as far as I know, all of these main bodies are Holdener. I think that's how you spell his last name. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you. Yeah, so if you want to write, well, actually, you misspelled his first name. You wrote Titchard instead of Richard. At Titchard, yeah. Yeah, that's what you did. Well, actually, I probably double checked both of his names. I have no idea. So all of these different main bodies, oops, all of these different main bodies are all down leg booster types. If I could find one, see, well, except for this one. This is a Pro Form. This one's a 750 with Annular Booster. So let's actually look at this one. This one I think has an adjustable, let's see, air bleeds, adjustable air bleeds, no air horn, pretty standard stuff. It's the HP style main body, gaskets and jet kit. Oh, it'll come with a couple jets. Natural aluminum finish, which I do like. I don't like the polished stuff. Comes with gaskets and jet kit. Okay, so it repeats, comes with gasket. Sold individually. Let's see, go into features, or actually replacements, spec table. So this one comes with 35, 35, 70, 70, which is actually pretty standard. Annular boosters, a 750 CFM. This one says gasoline, and that I don't know. I don't know if I could run E85 through this. I'd probably either have to call them or send them an email to see if gasoline is an option for something like this. But actually, let me see if I can find E85 Holly main body images. Okay, so who sells this? This is eBay, but who sells this? I don't know. Butchfield 55. I don't know what that is. Holly QFT AED CCS 650 CFM E85 HP nitro plate main body. So this one, I think it's coated with a special coating, kind of like the HP main bodies, and it's I guess this is resistant to E85. The only thing is that I think these are down leg boosters, and I don't really want to run down leg boosters. So let's see what this thing says. Now we're just going through eBay. Let's see, no choke tower, smooth air, pre-calibrated factory, optimum performance, reliability on a wide variety of applications. Lightweight aluminum, high flow aluminum made by precision vacuum drawn die cast. Compatible to today's components. CCS kits are supplied with high school. Compatible to today's components. Pre-approved. I think this is all standard stuff. But I don't see anything that specifically says E85. It does come with a high flow center bolt. Let's see. Did you hear David Wizard say in his live stream yesterday that it's possible in certain situations for annular boosters to make droplets too small? He said droplets for best power should be 5 microns minimum. I'm sure he's right, because I mean, obviously he knows what he's talking about. That's kind of his thing. But how would you measure that? You know, how would you go around measuring something like that? I have no idea. But you gotta think that, you know, when people are running like 1,000 horsepower EFI applications, that those injectors are like spraying super small. So even for annular boosters, those orifices are gigantic, and I'm pretty sure the droplets are pretty big compared to EFI. There would have to be like some sort of test, and I don't know how you would be able to run back-to-back tests. Maybe with I mean, it could just be another hearsay kind of thing, kind of like the reverse piston theory. It would just be kind of hard. Like you would have to set up a dyno Then you'd have to run like a see-through intake manifold, and then you'd have to run a slow motion camera inside of it, and then you'd have to measure out the droplets. And I don't even know how you would do that. Like I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that. I don't even know where he would get 5 microns. I don't know. It seems weird that he would say something like that, and nobody else has ever said something like that to that extent. I guess people don't really pay attention to how big the droplets are on the inside of a carburetor. But it seems weird because maybe he's specifically talking about gasoline, because E85, it just pours so much fuel, almost streams down the carburetor, like, and especially like alcohol racers, they're dumping liters per second, you know. At higher RPM, they're just dumping tons of fuel. So I don't know. I really don't know where he would get something like that. I've never heard it. And I do a lot of research on that kind of stuff, which is why I want to go to annular boosters in the first place, because I do want that atomization. And also, when you go annular boosters, you get so let's see if I can open this up. This is a standard down leg booster, because you can tell, because here's a bend right here, and then it goes down into the throat, and then this is where the air hits it and it goes down. So in a standard like torque application with a big carburetor, you'd want to take these down leg boosters, and then the carb builders, they machine a lip on the lower end, on the underside of these boosters before they install them, so that way there's a shear point off the venturi, and so the air will travel through the venturi, it'll hit that shear, and it'll shear the fuel, so that way it atomizes better for more low speed torque. With an annular booster, you have a bigger area throughout the middle, and then you have several smaller holes instead of one big hole. It's got several smaller holes, and it would shear as air is traveling through that booster. It would shear through that instead, not like not the machinist way of doing it, like the carburetor experts tend to do. So that's a different way to get things done. Let's see if I can find. Okay, so all of these EA5, you can skip halfway through his last video to see what he says. He likes both styles boosters when used in proper applications. I'll probably have to check out his live stream personally and just go through it, because maybe I'm just missing a little bit of context to see what he was talking about in terms of the size of the droplets. I think it's a pretty common, I don't want to say fact, but it's pretty well known that boosters offer better atomization than down leg boosters, or annular. I don't know if I mentioned annular boosters offer better atomization than down leg boosters, because annular boosters have several holes around the venturi, and then the down leg booster only has one hole, and so you would assume the droplets would be smaller and better distribution on annular system. But it's curious that you go, if I look up E85 Holley main body, all of these main bodies are down leg booster designs, and I don't know if they do that because it's better. I heard that it's not better, but maybe they know something that I don't. Like this one, okay, so this is a carburetor from E85 Carbs, and they actually sell conversion kits to convert your regular Holley carburetor to an E85 carburetor. And so they know what they're doing. They sell the kits, and this one's actually a straight leg booster. It's a Holley main body, an HP main body, and then it's got straight leg boosters, not even down leg boosters. It just has regular straight leg boosters. It has 4-corner idle. It's a double pumper. It's got these trick like matte black painted throttle linkage, and it's some of that chromate, the gold chromate. So let's see. What does that have any more pictures? See, this one's a straight leg booster as well. And then this one has a choke. Oh, wait. Well, see, here's the thing. These are not for turbo applications. These are draw-through carburetors. So these ones are designed, because it still has a choke, these ones are actually designed for just a standard, whatever, like a big block or a high horsepower, high RPM motor that needs E85 for it to not detonate. That's what this carburetor is for. So now if we're looking at, these are drag race carburetors, supposedly. 4150, these are actually down leg boosters, HP main body, adjustable bleeds. This one, same thing. This is a Dominator style. This one's another HP main body style, 4150. Billet, E85 race. These are actually the same carburetor, different colors. One's black, that one's purple. And it doesn't, I don't see any blow through stuff. Oh, here they are. Here we go. Okay, see, so check this out. The blow through race carbs are annular boosters. And like I mentioned before, that E85 carbs, they sell all the kits to convert your standard Holly into an HP, into a blow-through style carburetor. And if you go through their off-the-shelf blow-through style carburetors, they're all annular boosters. So even, let's see, this one's circle track, so this one's just down leg boosters, which makes sense. There's no turbo in circle track. And then these are 4-barrel circle track, and then these are down leg boosters. And then this one's straight leg booster. This one's down leg booster. This one's a 750. So they probably go 650 down leg because they don't need the extra response, and they go 750 or 650 straight leg because they don't need the response. 750 down leg so they can get the response of the 650. And then this one, so this one's the one I was looking at earlier on the Google site. On the Google Images was this one. So according to E85 carbs, for blow-through applications, let's get to it. For blow-through applications, you want to go with a what do you call it? Annular boosters. You want to go through annular boosters, and I actually do like these bowls. Actually, this one's a dual needle and seat bowl, and then it feeds in from the back, from the front, and it's also a longer fuel bowl, so it can carry more fuel, less likely for it to starve, and then I'm sure the float has a better angle to try to get a more consistent fuel level. But these are probably really expensive. So this is the QFT dual needle and seat 2-bowl kit. So this is a front bowl, rear bowl, and I think it comes with the hat. Nope, the hat is separate. So just the bowls are $700, and for $700 you can buy 2 Holly carburetors. So you can see why doing a DIY blow-through setup is much more cost efficient than trying to buy these, off-the-shelf ones. It just doesn't make any sense. But all right, let's see. We're done with this. We're done with this one. We're done with this. I was talking about turbos earlier. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about turbos right now, but we were talking about them earlier. And this was the cam that I was going to buy. So the plan right now is to take my standard 5.3, and I'm going to install this cam in. This is a BTR, Brian Tooley Racing Stage 1 V2 truck cam. So this one's pretty mild. This one's, whoops. This one's a 553, and then this is like a 206, 208, 206, 212 on the duration, and then 112 LSA. This one, from the standard 350 some horsepower, will push it right up to 397. But then earlier we were looking at the stage 2, and if you go through the description, this one gets 404. Now, do I really want to split hairs on? Do I really want to split hairs on 6 horsepower? Not really. So I'm probably gonna go with the stage 2, just because it has a little bit of a chop, But if I just wanted efficiency, I would go with the stage 1 because you do save a little bit on that duration, but more duration also allows the boost to enter and leave a lot easier. So I am going to go with the BTR stage 1. That'll get me to 400 horsepower. Now to get from 400 to 600 only takes about 8 pounds of boost. But this is all crank horsepower. This is not wheel horsepower. To get to 600 wheel horsepower, you need about 700 or 750 horsepower to get to 600 wheel. So 750 horsepower, that's almost twice as much. So no cam is, I don't think, even their like stage 4 cams won't get you to that much power. Let's actually go through and play with camshafts a little bit. So this is category Gen 5, LS1, LS2, naturally aspirated cams. Okay, so this is the Gen 3 stuff. This is a stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, carbureted street strip circle track. All right, so we'll go stage 5. Let's see what stage 5 looks like. So the stage 5 is a 235, 251 on the duration. That's a lot of exhaust duration. A 640, 625, 112 LSA. And, oh, this one does not have a dyno sheet on it. Well, that's not fun. Let's see, it is not uncommon to see 460 wheel horsepower with proper supporting mods, including a quality set of cylinder heads and a torque converter. See, that's the issue with these really big cams. First of all, anything over 600, I think you need to change push rods or rocker arms, because I think 600 is the max on the stock heads. So you can get aftermarket heads and you can get them to go with the higher lift. But as far as I know, 600 is the max a stock set of 706 heads is going to be able to support. So if we can't, the next thing is the duration to 235, 251. So it's going to be really, really choppy. It's going to be really hard to be streetable. And then it doesn't even give you that many more gains. I was watching the back-to-back dynos from Richard Holdner, and I think on the same engine, the only thing that changes was the cam. It was maybe 10 horsepower per cam change per let's say per stage. The first one would raise you up, like the first one would give you the most gains, which was like 40 or 50 horsepower. Then every stage above that would give you like 10 more horsepower, and you would lose like another 10 or 15 pounds of torque on the bottom end. So if it was on a scale, it'd probably go as, let's say it's like this, and then on the stage 1, or if it's stock, let's say it's like this, and then on the stage 1, only the horsepower would go up and torque would go down a hair. But then stage 2 would just keep doing this, 3, 4, and 5, and you just lose way too much low-end torque when you go with these big cams, and the payoff honestly isn't that great. You want something that'll take advantage of every single thing your heads have to offer, but I mean, unless you're racing for every single thousandth of a second to eventually like count up a tenth of a second, then you should go with like the bigger cams. But I mean, if it's a street car and 95% of the time you're driving it on the street, I would set up something that would give you the most benefit on the street, and that would be a stage 1 cam if you want to go conservative, or a stage 2 cam if you want a little bit of a chop. But I probably wouldn't go more than that because it just doesn't make sense. If we are talking specifically like if we go the sloppy stage 2 cam, the Elgin sloppy stage 2, this one is a 283, 286, no, I don't think that's at 50. At 50, 228, 230. So that's a little bit more conservative than that stage 5 from Brian Tooley Racing. But this one's a 585, 585. There's a reason people really like these cams. They give you like a really good amount of chop. And aside from that, it fits the stock. The lift on these fits the stock heads really, really well. So you're expected about 415, 420 horsepower with the sloppy stage 2 on a standard 5.3. 6.0, I think the gains are a little bit more, maybe closer to like 450, but this is like the go-to for the standard street car. But if you're making 404 on the stage 2 truck cam and you're making 415, 420 on the sloppy stage 2, but the stage 2 is going, the sloppy stage 2 is probably going to cut down torque a little bit on the low end. So I'd probably still go with the truck stage 2. And if I really wanted low end performance, I would either stay stock or stay with the truck stage 1, which if you go to a truck stage 1, I mentioned before, you're not going to lose that much performance down low. You're really not. You're going to, it's almost going to drive exactly the same. Only the difference is that the top end is going to get opened up. So you look at these dyno graphs by Brian Tooley. If these things, let's say the bottom part of the horsepower curve was following exactly the same, you're not going to lose. You're not going to miss. What is this? 5 horsepower, 10 horsepower on the low end. You're probably going to lose a little bit of torque. I think there's a reason they cut the stock 5.3 stock in the red. They started at 3,500, and I think the reason for that is because you would be able to see that below 3,000, the stock cam is going to make more torque and more horsepower. After 3,500, the BTR stage 1, it will make more power, and I think that's why they set it up this way. This is more of a marketing thing, because I know the bottom end numbers are pretty comparable between the stage 1. This is the stage 1 or stage 2? This one's a stage 2. But for the stage 1, they're like really comparable. They're almost exactly the same. But I mean, a marketing tactic aside, you can see that after 45,000 or 4,500, it starts to just climb dramatically. So your torque curve from it being at like 4,700 gets pushed out all the way out to 5,000, and then before it starts tapering off. But you don't get below the maximum torque value of the stock cam until about 5,500. But by that time, horsepower is actually still rising. So your maximum horsepower probably, or your like shift point probably wants to be around 6,500, and then your following gear are probably going to land right at 55. You might even want to shift a little bit below that to get like right at around 5,000 to be in the next gear. But we're not necessarily talking about racing, but you can see where I'm going with this. What's going on, D Brooks? Is that am I saying that right? D Brooks, or is it Dub Brooks? You let me know. So that's the cam I want to run. Valve springs, I'm either gonna run. I think there was see, so if you go, this cam is 349, but if you go with the 353 kit, it'll come with seals. It won't come with retainers, but it will come with springs, and it'll come with seals. And if we go BTR truck stage 1, let's say stage 2 V2. Yep, D Brooks. All right, cool. I said it right. If we go stage 2 V2, and then we go with the set of just 560 beehive springs. Let's see. I don't know what the difference is between these. And then you have to show your performance one. So let's see. Let's just go with the one on top. 560 beehive. So I guess 560 is the maximum lift, but the cam is a 553, 553. So it just barely falls into the right place. Seals 01 LS. I don't know what that means. No replacement push rods. Valve holding tool, no, because I'm probably going to go ahead and do them off the engine. And so it ends up, I don't know. Let's add it to the cart to see what it looks like. Oh, what happened to 553? Well, so much for that, huh? I probably have to call them and be like, how do I get that price? Oh, here we go. So it changed. So let's see if, okay, $335 just for the cam, $398 for the 560, and $409 for the Chevy Performance. So how do I get $355? How do I get that pricing? Is it because the cam's the same, or the cams are the same price? Torque cam? That's the cam I was thinking about too, the torque cam, which is a pretty decent cam in itself. But all right, so we're gonna be paying $400 for the cam kit. I don't know if that's worth it or not, but that's kind of where I'm looking at. I don't know any other. I mean, I do know other companies that sell the different cams, but I don't know if they'd be worth looking at right now specifically. I was looking at these, so you can buy these like BLP. BLP is another really good company. BLP and E85 Carbs are probably my go-to for carburetor parts. And this one's a CNC profile, the main body. So this one is a 650 and main body, 1300 Venturi profiled, no polish. And this uses a 1688 base plate. And I think that's the 750 base plate. There's no other pictures. I don't know what the maximum power on this one is, but it is an HP main body. But it's $258. I don't know if I want to spend that much. Let's see what else they got. I know they sell a bunch of cool stuff. The base plates are a very popular item for BLP. Let's see. I just want to see their standard main bodies. Let's see. Here's a profile main body. All right. Let's see. These are just replacement main bodies right here. These are 175. Retrofit kit, and then 175 complete. I don't know what the main difference is. I have to go through, but the one that I have right now. Let's see. Let's see. I have so many pictures here. Okay, so this is a carburetor that I have right now. This is I spoke about this earlier. I'll go through it again right now, real quick. So mine's a 650 with downleg booster, just like this. I think 40 squirters in the front, 40 squirters in the back. And it came with alcohol metering blocks, which were, they kind of look like this. I already had a picture of them. These are actually the exact metering blocks that were on my carburetor, and these were designed for alcohol. These actually had like 130 size jets. You figure that a 5.3 takes anywhere from like it looks like I'm back online. It looks like my signal's back the way it's supposed to be, but the stream isn't set up correctly. I don't know why I get these dropouts in quality, but let's see. What I was talking about earlier was the fact that these metering blocks, they were using the larger, I don't want to say bolt pattern, but the size, the inlet size for the jets was significantly bigger compared to the standard Holley jets. So what I'm planning to do is when I build my carburetor, I'm going to be using the standard Holley metering blocks. I guess it's getting pretty difficult to actually get a consistent stream. Why is it getting so difficult? All right, I think we're okay. I'm pretty sure we're okay. All right, if it drops out again, I'm gonna have to close it up. But no, for right now, we're good. So the metering blocks that I'm gonna be, you hearing? Oh, what's going on, Jody? Haven't seen you in a good bit. How's everything on your end? How's your build coming along? The metering blocks, the stock metering blocks, let's see if I can pull up a set of those. The stock metering blocks, where you at? I pulled up a lot of, this is the intake manifold I'm gonna be using. The Holley dual plane, pretty standard stuff. It's gonna kill top end power, but that's why I want to compensate that with the cam. So that's going to be what I'm going to be running. And then you also had the option to go single plane, which is going to give me back that high RPM power, but I'm going to lose a ton of low end torque. And honestly, for a street car, you want to hold on to as much torque as you possibly can. So I wouldn't be giving that up anytime soon. This is a cam I was talking about earlier. Let's see. This is the dual plane that I was talking about. This is my carburetor that I'm running right now, and I was actually talking about running annular boosters on a 750 versus the stock down leg. So the plan right now is to run the stock down leg boosters and switch over to 85 on the carburetor instead of running race fuel. So right now I'm running 87 actually, and on an 87, I was able to make 500 and almost 550, 500, 250 horsepower to the wheels. But that was back when I had 373 gears on my 35s. Now I have 456 gears on the 35s. I have a 2-inch carb spacer. I have long tube headers. So I want to say I'm closer to 275 wheel, maybe closer to 300 wheel if I'm aiming really high, but I'm probably not that high, but you know, I'm close to 300-ish horsepower. If I want to go ahead and keep raising the timing up on the lower RPMs, I'm going to want to switch over to E85, and then if I want to go with the bigger cam and run a little bit more RPM, I want to go E85. In order to go E85, I'm going to need to upgrade the fuel lines. So that's where we're at right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 650 Demon carburetor, and that's going to be retrofitted to run E85. I think you can run the standard down leg. We were going through E85 carbs earlier, and you were supposedly were able to run the down leg boosters on standard E85 naturally aspirated. For blow-through applications, I'm going to want to switch to annular boosters. So what I'm going to do is I have the 650 already. I'm going to run that on E85 naturally aspirated, and then I'm going to go boost on the 650. If I'm start noticing that I'm running out of air toward the top end with the 650, then I'm going to switch over to a 750. So I'm basically going to take that 650 and push it as much as I can. And I want to say the limit's like 800 horsepower, 900 horsepower. So I'm going to try to, I mean, we're just kind of saying 800, 900, we're just throwing numbers around and without even thinking that it's a pretty massive amount of power. Jody says, I got my roller cam and AFR heads on my small block Chevy 400. Moves out nicely. Still haven't decided what to do with the 6-liter and all the parts I have for it. Been working a lot this time of year. Yeah, I hear you. It kind of sucks just having a lot of extra parts that you don't necessarily have a use for. I have plenty of space now, so it's really easy to just hoard things and just keep things stored away. I'm excited to see how things go down between you. You know, you and I both, because the driveway engineer, you know, he's a really smart guy. He has a solid plan. And I'm 100% sure he can achieve his goal of 650 wheel on the stuff that he has, which is basically just all stock junkyard stuff minus like the cam. Everything else is pretty much like, well, I mean, and the turbo, obviously. But you can't really get there NA, even with the most biggest cam in the whole world, that won't get you there. But you need a lot of displacement to get that much power out of an NA engine. But for turbo, he's got a solid plan. Those truck intakes can get you to 1,000 horsepower, no problem. The exhaust manifolds will get you there with the turbo, no problem. And the heads obviously will get you there. So the injectors that he's going to be running the flex fuel E85 injectors, whereas I'm going to be running just an E85 or converted to E85 carburetor. And that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm just kind of brainstorming, getting all my ideas together for this carburetor, making sure that each foot that I take, every step that I take forward is a step in the right direction, and I don't end up hurting myself and getting stuck with like a really expensive part that I don't actually end up needing. That would be pretty upsetting for me. But I am pretty confident I can get this to work. I've never worked with E85, not in fuel injection and not in a carburetor. So it's going to be a pretty good learning experience for sure. But I'm excited. I think it's going to go down pretty good. I think this truck's going to move really fast, and I don't think we're going to have any kind of issues. I think we're okay. Air bleeds and everything, to get it going, I'm just going to leave them alone. What the air bleeds do, they basically change the fuel pattern. If you need more fuel on top, you make them smaller. If you need less fuel on top, you make them bigger. I'm just going to, well, the response rate changes too on the fuel curves. So you don't really want to mess with them too much unless you already know what everything looks like. So since I'm barely going to be converting this to E85, you want to go ahead and leave all of these bleeds the way they're at. If you're noticing slow response on the fuel curves, and you go down 5 sizes on a pair of these, or if you notice that you're getting too much fuel up top, you make them smaller, 5 sizes, and you just play with it, try to get everything, because the issue isn't always in one particular location. Typically, it's between a couple of different issues that you're having with the carburetor. So I'm excited. Have you guys seen my turbo? I showed it off earlier in the stream, but I'll show it off again right now just because there's like 4 of you guys in here. So this is a tiny little GT35. So I don't know, I'm going to put it up against the camera so you guys can see. There you go. So this is a GT35. I think this is like I want to say it's like a 62 millimeter turbo. Spins pretty good. I think it'll be a good turbo for my application. The 7 says, what's the AC bill like in the California high desert? It varies a lot with AC now. It varies quite a bit. It's really hot. It's like 105 degrees Sometimes it hits close to 110. I don't know if it's going to get even. I mean, I'm positive it's probably going to get hotter in July and in August, because those are always the hottest month out of the whole year. It's not like on the East Coast that right now it's raining. You know, we're not that lucky. So unfortunately, my bill is pretty high. I don't know the exact dollar amount. I just kind of have it set to auto pay, and I don't really look at it. But ever since I got AC, it has been pretty high, and I just noticed that I have less money in the account, which means I have less money in the way. I'll go on that sometime soon, like what it's like living out here. But moving on, I'm getting signal issues again. Oh my god, this is such a pain. I was looking at fuel pressure regulators last time, right before my signal got cut off, right before my signal got slowed down. I was talking about fuel pressure regulators, and I think this might be the one that I'm going to go with. This one is an ORB-10 to AN-10, and this one goes 1-to-1 on boost pressure. So this one is the one it says adjustable from 2 to 20 psi. And this one is a return style regulator, so this might be one that I need. Oh, high pressure boost require high volume, high pressure fuel pumps, EFI capable electric or mechanical pumps like the Aeromotive. So it gives me a part number. Somebody told me to run the Eliminator pump because it just has that much more fuel. So this will probably supply, I think it told me how much power it could supply. Let's see. It doesn't say. One of them said 1,000 horsepower. That's the goal, right? That's everybody's goal, 1,000 horsepower with the carbureted application. Fuel supply is going to be a little bit difficult, but we just got to go with the right component. So this is the, I have everything up here on top of everything I'm going to use. So this is the high flow needle and seat. This is a 130. I might go with 150 just so I can make sure I keep everything full. And since I'm going to have a pretty good fuel pressure regulator, I think I'm going to be fine, especially since I'm not going to go with the fancy fuel bowls. The fancy, let's see if they're recommended here. They're not recommended here, yeah. So the fancy fuel bowls are like $700, and those have dual needle and seats. So I'm going to be running just a single needle and seat, and I'm going to be running this 130 needle and seat with pressure regulator. And then I've got the alcohol metering blocks, which I'm probably not going to use. I'm probably going to run a standard Holley one, and then just see what the limits are on that one, drill everything out myself and tap it and get that thing ready. That's what I have in my truck right now, is a custom one. Well, all my cars have custom metering blocks because I tune every single one. So I'm going to get rid of this one. This is just a carburetor that I have, Mighty Demon. Well, this one's called a Mighty Demon. The other one that I had was a Race Demon. So when Holley bought Barry Grant, they changed the naming style. So before, I think the Mighty Demon was the Dominator, and the Race Demon was the HP, like this right here. So limited stock replaced by Q650B2. QMAD 650B2. I wonder what that Q650B2 is. Q-650-B2. Enter. Oh, this is a QFT series. Yeah. So this one's a Quick Fuel Systems carburetor, and to supposedly replace the very grand one that we were looking at earlier. So this one's $821. It's essentially the same thing. It has the HP main body. It's got the adjustable bleeds. It's got the high flow accelerator pump nozzles, and I think this has dual inlet. Yeah, this has dual inlet. Whatever you call this thing. Fuel bowl, so you can run the fuel rail on the driver's side or the passenger side, and it is a mechanical secondary just like the other one is. This one's 821. If you go back and look at the Demon that we were looking at earlier, it's 643. So the Demon is cheaper. Demon has a really bad rap when it comes to carburetors, and it's because of their quality control back in the day. So people don't really like to run the Demons, but I like them. I tend to buy them secondhand. In fact, let's hop on Craigslist to see what kind of Holley carburetors I can find, because that's usually where I find my stuff. I just buy everything used. I don't buy anything new. Even my Race Demon was used. So let's see. We've got this. I don't even know. There's no picture here. We've got. Let's see. Nothing that necessarily pops my eye. This one's 340, but this one looks like a stock rebuild, just painted. 700, that's no good. Blue pump with the fuel pressure regulator. That looks like it's from a store. Carburetor prices are still really expensive. This fuel cell is actually a really good deal. Where is this? 15 gallons, 18 by 10 by 10. Text, and it comes with standard fuel. I have this fuel pressure regulator, this Holley one. You can still get them at the parts store. They're about $35. They work really, really well, and usually I don't have to adjust them. I just hook it up and go, and it works really well. That's not bad for that fuel cell. I might actually grab it. Let's see, a marine carburetor. You want to stay away from all the 2 barrels unless you're doing circle track. 327, that's a Chevy. This is a slant, or inline 6, 4-barrel intake. Looks like we're a little dry on the carburetors, believe it or not. Somebody must have bought all the good ones. You can still get these 1050 Dominator, 500 bucks, I guess, for one. A lot of people told me to switch over to the Dominator style carburetor, but I don't know. I kind of like these older ones. Don't want to go too high tech just yet. I want to max out what I do have and then go from there. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't want to say garbage because all of these carburetors are good for something, but yeah, no. Like this 750 that's here, it's a 754 barrel, $150, but obviously somebody painted the center section, and black carb was on a display engine, never ran, but not complete. Pulled one flow bowl off, missing jets and power valve, don't know anything about it. List 3310, so it's a 750. I don't know what kind of display engine this was, but this thing was definitely used. I mean, a 3310 was a really popular OEM and aftermarket carburetor. Oh, I had a Holley regulator on one of my 87 Firebird with a 4-barrel LT1 with an Edelbrock carb on an LT1. It was a good street combo. Yeah, I mean, the Edelbrocks are really solid carburetors for street engines, especially Chevys. I don't know what it is with Chevys and Edelbrocks. They just kind of like go hand in hand. You slap it on, you hook up all the linkage, you hook up the fuel, you start it, and you go. Like Edelbrocks and Chevys go a really long way. You can get a lot of good miles out of an Edelbrock on a Chevy. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend anybody buy this particular carburetor. Actually, there's 2 pictures here. This one is not this carburetor. Yeah, these 2 different carburetors. you see that this the choke horn, this one's flat with the vent tube right here, and this picture, it's the newer style with the integrated vent tube right here. So this is, yeah, I'd stay away unless you have several. Oh yeah, I have a second carb that may be used for parts, same list number. Missing some parts, choke removed, great for parts, base for custom build. Yeah, nope, not for $150, I'm not. Usually I buy things like for $60, I buy things for $40. I'm not paying $150 for a incomplete carburetor. It just doesn't make sense. And if I'm paying $200, it better be a really, really good carburetor. Here's an XP, a 750 XP, $700. That's not too bad. Oh, here's some stuff right here. Some HP main bodies, incomplete with no boosters for some reason. And then you've got two double pumpers here with no choke horn. Two 750s, 4779. Yep, pretty standard. Double pumpers, 4-corner idle. That's what it looks like. You'd have to flip it upside down to see if there were actually a 4-corner idle carburetor, or if somebody just installed a secondary metering block with adjustable idle, but the base plate isn't set up, so it's not going to actually flow the secondary idle circuit. And two new Holly bodies, tunnel ram ready. I don't know which tunnel ram will fit two 750 double pumpers in that particular configuration. I do know you can install them sideways, but you need this special linkage to get them installed sideways. So I don't know. And I don't know, this main body is going to be no good for either of these carburetors because you need air bleeds, you need squirters, and you need boosters. You need somebody to install the boosters, and the boosters aren't here. So anyway, so that's pretty much where I'm at. It's getting really late. It's 8:30. I gotta get ready for work tomorrow. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. We had some issues with connectivity, so I'm hoping I can get my setup a little bit cleaner so more people can jump in without having more connection issues. So unfortunately, I had to restart this like twice, I think. But we got a lot of information out on the carburetors. We had a lot of information for the cams. Some of this stuff I'm probably going to redo in actual videos, so that way we can actually talk about things in general, very specific things like the needle and seat was a really big thing. The different, I didn't realize, I knew that all the ones that come in the rebuild kits come in 110, but I didn't realize that you can get 120, 130, 140, and then finally 150. And normally you wouldn't need this on a standard street car, especially something making less than, like, say 400, 500 horsepower. When you get into the upper levels, your engine is sucking in more fuel than the fuel pump can supply to the actual bowl. So to compensate for that, you get these larger needle and seats, and you can help fill the bowl back up, and it should keep up with at the rate that your engine is sucking in the fuel out of the bowl, especially at wide open throttle. That's really where you're going to run into issues. Driving around town or cruising, you're not going to require a 130, 140, 150, but driving around at the track at wide open throttle, you are going to probably run into issues if your horsepower, if your engine makes that much more horsepower. We talked about these alcohol metering blocks, these high flow metering blocks, basically. How I'll probably maybe not run them right away, just because I want to run all the stock stuff first, and probably just modify the stock one until I can't get any more power out of it, and then switch over to something a little bit bigger. But I probably won't run these because I don't want to run the larger jet sizes. I want to run the standard Holley one, and because I'm planning to run E85 through this carburetor, so I'm going to have a lot of E85 videos up pretty soon. But because I want to run E85 through the carburetor, we're looking at a 30% increase. And out of a standard Holley metering block, I've been able to see jets up into the 100s, like 100, 110. I think has been the biggest I've seen. But any bigger than that, you probably want to go to a larger opening for the metering blocks. But I haven't necessarily seen that. What kind of power valve do I run? Tim Dolan is asking. So for power valves on a standard street car, I'm running on a stock cam. I'm running an 8.5 standard Holley power valve. When I switch over to 85, if I'm still on the stock cam, then I'm going to be running, depending if I'm on the stock cam, I'm going to be running the same 8.5 power valve. And the reason I run the 8.5 power valve is because it's right, 8.5 is right before I start going into a load like climbing up on the freeway or the on-ramp or whatever. When I'm climbing on the on-ramp, I'm probably like around 7, 6, and sometimes 5 inches of vacuum. And by that time, the power valve is already open. So I try to open it a little bit sooner, so that way when I'm actually in the load, the fuel's already flowing. So I like for it to open a little bit earlier. 10:30 here, bedtime for me. I'm tuned in, looking to learn something new. Have a good one. I'll see you later, Jody. Good to see you. Always a blast. Good luck on your build. For when I go into a cam, I'm gonna have to. Well, I always drive around with my vacuum gauge on, but when I install the new cam, vacuum's gonna drop at idle from 20, 22 is what I have right now, down to like 15, 16, I'm assuming. So as soon as I start driving around and I start seeing what it takes to get on an on-ramp, I'm going to go 1 inch of vacuum above that, and then that's where I'm going to set my new power valve. And then when I go E85, I'm going to get the same number, just with the E85 compatible diaphragms, the power valve diaphragms. And then when I go boost, I will be using boost reference power valves, but on the NA stuff, makes sense. I just carved a twin turbo with a ghost cam. What is a ghost cam? I'd like to know what that is. Yeah, I've never heard of what a ghost cam is. It must be, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Twin turbo on a carburetor. It's probably, I want to say it's a little bit more difficult because of the carb hat. And so you have the carb hat that's like really bulky, and then you have turbo piping that goes to both sides. Oh, Summit Stage 1. Okay, that makes more sense. That's probably a solid build. A Summit Stage 1 is probably pretty mild. It's probably comparable to the BTR Stage 575, 600, 223. Yeah. So the BTR Stage truck Stage 2 is a 553, 553, 218, 223. So it's like a hair smaller than what you've got right now. So that's Summit Stage 1 is probably a car cam, and the BTR cam is obviously a truck cam, more for torque, so a little bit more conservative. But for boost, I think it'll run okay. Any cam on an LS or any engine, any cam aside from the stock cam, will allow your higher RPMs to breathe freely. And if you want to make that much more power, you get that much more cam to compensate. But ideally, you don't want to go, especially on a turbo application. I mean, if you're, all out racing and you're trying to get every split quarter of a second, half second, 10th of a second, 16th of a second, you know what I mean? Then yeah, you want to go to whatever makes the most power, whatever gets you the most, the shortest time, whatever saves you that race is what you want to run. But for the rest of us, running like just around town and to the grocery store and on the freeway and traffic, you want something a little bit more streetable. Everybody likes that chop. It's always fun when you show up to the car shows and your car is the only one that sounds like it's about to break down, and it's like chugging, everybody likes that. and it sounds really mean. So, but you got to find a balance between streetability and the chop. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I'll try to get back on this next Sunday so we can talk a little bit more. Hopefully I get further down in the build and I'll share with you guys what I've done so far. I have a lot of information to post in videos pretty soon about all this kind of stuff. You guys can see I have like 10 tabs open right now. So, yep, Tim Dolan, I'll see you. Everybody else, I'll see you. Have a good night. Adventure out.